Welcome to Performance Car Lounge, where each week we speak with enthusiasts selling their beloved performance cars. This week, we speak with the owner of a C7 Corvette Stingray. The subject of this week's podcast features a car that was never officially sold in Australia, and this one was actually imported from Canada. It's got a 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 putting out almost 500 horsepower, and it's rear-wheel drive. And we're talking about the C7 Corvette Stingray. And today I'm joined by the owner of the Corvette, Bill. Welcome to the podcast, Bill.
Thank you.
What led you to, as I understand it, buying a car in Canada and importing it to Australia?
Originally, I've had C3s over the years, and I decided I would like to get a C7. So I actually talked to Performax up at Gympie. I don't know if everybody knows Performax, but they're a company that converts cars. Anyway, and Kevin, the manager up there, was really good, and we worked out what sort of car I wanted and what I didn't want. And we went ahead and started looking all over the United States for one. Couldn't really find what we wanted. And then we found this one in Canada, in Toronto, on the showroom floor. And it was the price that I was quite happy with. So we bought it. Then from Toronto, it got shipped to Vancouver on a train and then, shipped out to here.
I imagine that was the longest wait in the world from purchasing cars landing in Australia.
It was really interesting. You sort of pay all this money out and you've got nothing, So, it was quite sort of daunting. And when it did arrive, Performax was really good. They said, go down to the docks and you can have a look at the car before we ship it up to Gympie. And we went and had a look at it while it was still left-hand drive and actually started it. And it was everything we were hoping for and more, actually. So we were very lucky in some respects that I'd asked for a Z51 pack, a dry sump, and a few other little things, and it had a sports pack in it. So it had an exhaust system, and the seats are an upgrade as well. And for us, because we drive it every day, the seats are very important. You know what I mean? There's nothing better to have than a comfortable seat.
Yeah, so you've got the Corvette Stingray with the Z51 pack, and the Z51 pack basically makes the car track capable, doesn't it?
Correct.
Gives it some, I think, better brakes and a louder exhaust, a free flowing exhaust, and a few performance extras to make it track capable.
Yeah, well, it is an auto, but you can use it with the paddles. Got 5 different modes on it. So it's actually got a track mode on it. So you can click it to track mode, or you can have it in economy or touring or whatever. It's really good. It's an 8-speed auto, like I said. And for us, even around town, it's just so easy to drive, So then you can put it on the track.
It's worth noting that 8-speed auto, when the C7 generation was released, they were released, I think, with the 6-speed auto. Is that correct? And then
Not sure. I decided that I'd never buy the first generation, like the first year, because there's always little things they tinker with and whatever else. And at that time, I thought, no, I'll just wait a while. And then, we got what we've got. We got 2016, and there's got a couple of little extras that they fine-tune things, and just a simple thing like closing the back boot. It's got a soft, so it just drops in. So you just press it and it just locks in. Whereas the old ones, they just had to bang them to shut them. So just little things like that over the, like the few years, they've just modified and just made it that little bit better.
No, I think, though, that the transmission when the car was released in 2014, it came with a 6-speed auto. And then in 2016, they released the new Hydromatic 8-speed auto with the paddle shifts. So I think you've done well there to wait for that. And a bit of extra technology came along with the C7, and it had the active fuel management system with that 6.2 litre V8 as well, where it actually drops to 4 cylinders if you're cruising, doesn't it?
Really good. We've done a lot of travelling in it. I've driven it to Sydney. I've been to Gladstone. We've been to Dalby, to the zoo in Dalby, and all over New South Wales and that. And yeah, just cruises so well. And when you put it in most modes, except for track mode, it'll drop down to 4 cylinders. So if you're in touring mode and you're cruising along the highway, it just drops down into 4 cylinders and you just cruise away. And it just makes so much better for fuel economy and everything else.
You're getting the fuel economy of a Honda Civic on the highway until you put the boot into it, and then it goes straight back to being a V8. And I'm sure you can churn through plenty of petrol if you want to.
Oh, yes, well and truly. But I've always run it on 98. In America, they don't. I think their highest is 91. I've always run it on 98. It's never had anything else in it. And I think that for that sort of car, I think the better octane, the better. So that's just my thoughts. But, you know, a lot of people mightn't agree with that. But this car has always been run on 98.
I think there's plenty of reasons why you would run the car on 98, because it cleans the engine and it's just better for it in general. You get some better economy and better performance out of the 98 as well. And when you own a car as special as this one, why would you put cheap?
Well, like I say, it's good on fuel. It's comfortable. Even the gauges, they're simple to use. Once you get it sorted and everything, you know, it's got good aircon. You know, it's just a nice car to drive. And it's my wife's day driver, so she drives it every day. It's a comfortable car for her. She was a bit nervous when she first jumped in it, but now it's just, easy as.
Yeah, I love to hear that special, unique cars like this aren't just put into a garage and treated like a garage queen and only bought out when it's, you know, sunny day, not raining for an hour or so. I love to see these cars getting used. And you've mentioned that you've done some long road trips out to Dubbo and Gladstone. The car, for a 2-door, 2-seater, actually has significant storage space, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. You can put probably 2 good suitcases in the back. We've done that a few times, and it's really got a good lot of space in the actual boot. So that's one thing I must admit with the C7, that it has got plenty of room to put. If you're going on a trip, it's no problem about what you have to take or can take. But by then you can also chuck a couple of set of golf clubs in there quite easily as well. You know what I mean? So,
that's what I was just about to say. I think the brief from General Motors with the Corvette is that it has to fit 2 sets of golf clubs in the back as a minimum.
Well, that's even with the C8, that's the correct as well. So, I heard that. But you could probably fit more than 2 in there anyway. So, but it's really good. And the good thing about it is the roof comes off and adds them up like most Corvettes and slides into the back. And it's so easy. You know, it's 3 little buttons, 3 little things. You just flick them, put it in, and then slide it into the little markers into the back of the boot. And you can still fit things in, even though you've got the roof in it.
Yeah, it's remarkable in that you're getting 2 cars in one there, really. You've got a hard top, and when you want it to be, you can put the Targa top in the boot and basically make it a convertible.
And it's a very good thing from Corvette. They've done that all the way through. Even the new C8's got that as well. So, and all the way through the generations, it's been like that.
The roof is actually quite lightweight. The Corvette has always been renowned for having lightweight panels on the car. When they first started out, they had fiberglass body panels, and now they've moved on to composite panels to keep the weight down. And on the C7, the roof and the bonnet is actually carbon fiber.
Correct. Yeah, well, I think you'll find there's more than just the roof and the bonnet that are carbon fiber. But, it's such a light car. And all underneath is aluminium. All the covers are underneath. Everything's just, it's all light and plenty of torque when you hit it. When I bought the car, it had a clear roof, a tinted roof. And that's good probably in America, but out here in summertime with the aircon on, you really need a hard roof. So I spent the money and I bought one in from America. So I've got 2 roofs for this actual car. One's for summer and one's for winter. And we actually do use the clear in wintertime. It's fantastic in wintertime. You go out on a cruise and you've got the clear roof, and you can just, you're going through the trees or up a mountain or whatever, and it's just lovely to have the clear roof. But in summertime, when it's really hot and you want the aircon to work perfectly, it's best to have the other roof on.
Good to have that option. And another thing that I wonder if you can confirm it for me as far as storage goes. I heard that with the infotainment screen, the center screen in the console, that you can actually fold that away, and there's a little cubby behind that to store bits and pieces and your valuables in.
Well, yeah, when we do a lot of triathlons, and if we go away or whatever, if we park the car or whatever, and we just take our gear to go swimming or whatever, we just press the little button, put all the wallets and our watches and whatever else. It's quite a good little space, actually. Folds down. It's about half the size of a shoebox, and then you put all your gear in and press the button, and it's great. We use it all.
I imagine that's really useful if you're just parking for a little while and you've got the top off, but you don't want to take everything with you out of the car. You can just hide it behind that cubby hole, and it's got a PIN number, I believe, that you can set. So you punch in your PIN code, and it locks that little cubby hole and also the glove box.
Correct. Yeah, and you've also got valet mode in the car as well. So if you take it and somebody else is parking, you can put it in valet mode and all the rest of it, so it governs the rest of the thing. I've never actually used it. I've actually played with it, but I've never actually had to use it. But it's all there. Like I say, you can have the instrumentation on it. You can have it so many different ways. It's really good. There's a fair bit of choice on how you can set up the car for yourself.
You're referring to the performance data recorder there, as far as, are you?
Yes.
Yeah. So for people who are listening who don't know, the Corvette is fitted with this really cool feature, which is a performance data recorder, which is basically the world's best dash cam that has all of your performance metrics laid over the top of it as well. So you can see how many revs you're doing, you can see the speed that you're going, you can see what gear you're in. I think you can even see your brake and throttle inputs. It's a really impressive bit of gear that's really designed for driving on the track, and you can download the video and the data afterwards and have a look at your driving style and see areas where you can improve. But what you've also said there is that when you put the car in valet mode, you can also monitor how the valet has been driving your car and whether you need to have a stern word with them or not after the fact.
Exactly right. And the good thing about it, in the glove box is a little USB, so you can actually, it's so easy to download any data that you want to download. It's easy as to use. Like I say, I've never had to worry about that sort of thing. I looked into it all when I bought the car. I researched it, and then I played with the car, and we set it up how we like it. Simple things, just like having the fan under the seats, and for in summertime, and then even in wintertime you've got heated seats. A lot of European stuff has got that as well, but it's just nice to have all these different options.
And that's the thing, it's a tremendous value for money car when you compare it to its natural competitors like the 911 and the Audi R8, which are also two-door, two-seat performance cars. The Corvette is basically half price, and it comes with all of these things standard that would be extras on these already expensive other cars as well. And another bit of technology that the car has is the head-up display, which I also find to be super useful.
I love heads-up. You don't ever have to look down. You're always looking ahead. You can adjust it. You can make it bright or dull, depending on whatever, But like I say, you can just set up the car how you like it. Even the seats, use different modes for different people that get in different key or whatever, and then it goes to my wife's seating arrangement. To me, it's all of having a luxury car, you know what I mean? And I think the Corvette definitely is a luxury car.
It leaves you wanting for nothing. And you mentioned before that you used to have a C3 generation Corvette. So there are 8 generations of Corvettes as of today. The first generation of Corvette was released, it was actually debuted at the 1953 General Motors Motorama show. So that wasn't at car dealership in Brisbane. The Motorama was actually held at a much more salubrious location at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York. So that was in 1953, and the car actually went on sale later that year. So I guess that was the C1. So you've had a C3 as well. Tell us about that car.
I've actually had a couple of C3s. So I bought a 73 off a person that imported it and did a bit of work to it. And I had that, about 16 years I had that one. And it was a good car, blue again. So I'm into blue. And, I drove that to Melbourne. I did the Gradation Road in it, different things like that. But as I got older and it was a manual as well, 4-speed manual, 350 Chev. It was a great car, but it was still left-hand drive. And it doesn't worry me. I can drive either. I'd never had an issue driving a left-hand drive car. So that was a really good car. And that was my childhood dream. So when I was 13, I went to a friend's place and his father had a smashed up C3 in the back, and I only seen the good side of it. And I thought, oh, that's beautiful. And it always stuck in my mind. And I always wanted to buy a Corvette. So when I was in my early 40s, I bought a Corvette.
We're all just big kids at heart, I think. So you mentioned then that your C3s were left-hand drive, and you've had this one converted to right-hand drive by Performax in Gympie.
Yes.
Now, this must be quite a big conversion, because when you look at the cockpit of the C7, it's very sort of asymmetrical and driver-focused. So getting a mirror image conversion of that done must be no small feat.
We were lucky enough, well, I don't know if it was lucky enough, but we went up and had a look, because I'm in a Corvette club. We went up and had a look at the conversion halfway through. And it was quite scary to see the car pulled down to its to get it converted over. I've never seen so many wires in all my life. But Performax do such a good job. And when we did get it, it just looked like it come out of the factory. You know what I mean? It's really well done. And we're very, very happy with it. And like I say, we've had it 7 years now. And the only reason I'm selling it is we're moving on to a C8. So, it's time to move on.
You're definitely a dyed-in-the-wool Corvette fan. It's also interesting to note with the C7, when they moved on from the C6, they made a conscious effort to appeal to a more youthful buyer. GM did a study in October 2012, which showed that basically 46% of Corvette buyers were 55 or older, compared with 22% of Audi R8 owners and 30% of 911 owners. And they went to great lengths to develop the car to appeal to younger buyers. And it even was delayed. The debut was delayed to ensure that it did appeal to younger buyers. And in 2014, when it was released, I actually remember this. They did some promotional efforts to attract younger buyers. There was a camouflaged version of the car that debuted in the Gran Turismo 5 video game. And I remember playing that at the time. And, driving the Corvette in the virtual world was my only real option to experience the car. So that was pretty cool at the time. And I'm also told that the C7 was featured as the pace car in the 2013 Indianapolis 500 race.
Yeah, I think it was too, yeah. I'm not into racing or anything like that. I do follow Corvettes. I've been lucky in my life that I've actually driven a C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 and C6. And a couple of the generations I've actually driven multiple different cars. So I've been very lucky that I've been able to drive even a C1 right through to a C7. And when we get the new one, it'll be a C8.
That's very cool.
I think I'm very privileged, actually. People trust me with their, like some of these cars are just beautiful. Like all cars are beautiful, but, some are more so than others.
Well, I haven't driven any of the previous generation Corvettes, but I actually did own a C8 Corvette for a while. And
All right.
from what you've told me today, you are not going to be disappointed. So everything that the C7 is, I believe
Right.
the C8 does, and it probably does it a bit better. The biggest difference, obviously, is every
Yeah.
generation of Corvette from C1 to C7 was a front mid-engine layout,
Yes.
where the C8 is the mid-rear engine layout.
It'll be quite interesting to drive the new one. I've got the specs that I want. It's actually very similar to the specs that I've got on the C7.
Is it a 2LT interior as well?
Yeah, and I've upgraded to the best seats you can get. When it comes to comfort, if you're going to drive it all the time, you're better off getting the better seats. Especially if you do a long trip down to Sydney or something like that, you appreciate the comfort. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, all the specs that are on the new one and a few extras are on the car I own at the moment.
You'll love it. And it is a comfortable car still when you want it to be. It's one of those cars where you can set the suspension to be, track focused and hard, or very comfortable when you want it to be. I think probably two of the biggest things that you'll notice a difference with is your view out over the bonnet. Instead of having that big engine in front of you, it's a relatively short wall away, and it really changes the driving experience. And I really loved it. It makes you feel like, and the car does turn into corners very well, and you've got great visibility on a spirited drive. And I guess the other thing that you'll experience, and I'm not sure if you'll like it or not, is the non-circular steering wheel, which is in the shape of a squircle.
I looked at that. I don't think it'll worry me. I adapt quite well to, whatever I'm driving. I've driven heavy vehicles all my life, so I don't think it'll be a problem. We're looking forward to it. It's just another chapter in having cars that I've had over the years. So, it's like I say, I'm not into racing or anything like that, but even with my C3, it got driven all the time. It didn't get driven just on weekends or whatever. Or, it's a sunny day, I'll take it out now. If it was raining, I'd take it out. I drove it to Melbourne, or drove it to Sydney, Canberra,
I'm sure driving it on a daily basis, it still gets plenty of looks. Your wife driving it around day to day must be constantly harassed by people asking questions or wanting to know more.
Yeah, we get that a fair bit, and occasionally she'll come home with eyes spinning, saying, "Oh, bloody another young kid tried to, with his ute or whatever, revving next to her and all the rest." She just waves and gives them a thumbs up and just leaves it, So it does. It always does, and people don't realise that it's even 7-year-old. It's kept in immaculate condition. I detail it all the time. It's just the way I keep my cars. I always look after my cars.
All right. So what we've got here is a 2016 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray with the Z51 package. It's done roughly 89,000 kilometres.
Just over 90 now, because we drive.
Just over 90,000 kilometres. It's got the 6.2 litre V8. It's got the 8-speed auto with paddle shifts. It's got the sport seats, the 2LT interior, which is a step up from the base interior.
Got a sports pack and a better exhaust. And like you say, when you change the modes, you change the exhaust, you change everything. So it gets really grunty when you turn it into sports mode. You can actually hear the difference as soon as you flick the switch. It's got the two roofs. It's actually got a Corvette cover for it as well. And I've got all the build sheets and all the books that come with it from Bowling Green, Kentucky. It's got its whole history of everything that's ever been done to the car, servicing, whatever. I've got it all in a file. So if you do buy the car, then all that's included with it. Also got 4 litres of paint.
Okay.
Yeah, I just do that. Every time I buy a car, I always buy paint, because you never know when something might happen or whatever, and then you start trying to find. I suppose it's pretty easy these days, but I'm old school, and I've always done that. So yeah.
4 litres is a lot of paint.
Yeah. Why would you buy a litre when you can buy 4 litres? So yeah.
Fair enough. So we've got a true enthusiast car and a genuine reason for sale, upgrading to the Corvette C8. Bill, the big question is, how much are you asking for the car?
I've dropped the price and it's now at 149.
Oh, okay. So that's significantly less than you would pay for a C8 Corvette these days.
Definitely. And that can be a little bit negotiable. You know, I've had a couple of offers on the car already, and I've declined them. They've been a little bit low. I'm in no rush. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If I end up with 2 in the driveway for a while, so be it. Eventually, it'll sell either way, but I'm not giving it away either.
Yeah. Look, a C7 and a C8 in the driveway sounds like a beautiful problem to have. And if you are not watching the YouTube version of this podcast, but you're listening to the podcast and you want to see pictures of Bill's C7 Corvette, head to www.performancecarlounge.com.au. I'll have a full description of Bill's car on the website, as well as all the pictures of the car and a link through to Bill's ad. So if you are interested in finding out more about this car and you want to contact Bill, please head to the Performance Car Lounge website. Bill, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
No problem at all. It was been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us at Performance Car Lounge. If you have a performance car with an interesting story that you are selling, contact us at performancecarlounge.com.au.